Higher prices at the pump after falling for 3 months in a row. Gas prices keep going up, climbing for the second week in a row to $3.80 a gallon nationwide. That's the national average, according to AAA. We want to bring in Patrick Haan, GasBuddy, head of Petroleum Analysis. Patrick, you're the perfect person to talk to about this. You're tracking every move in gas prices. So we've seen this jump over the past 2 weeks. Where, though, in the country are we feeling the most pain?
Yeah, it's very much a disproportionate increase. The epicenter of the biggest increase is really the West Coast. California prices now are retesting their 2022 highs. In some instances, stations are up $1 a gallon just in the last few weeks, not only in the West Coast, but areas of the Great Lakes as well, where prices are up 50 cents a gallon in the last few weeks. So really a handful of states, Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, and Arizona, seeing the biggest increases, and that's so strong it's pulling up the national average for the first time or the second straight week in as many as the last 16. So certainly unusual to see such a wide disparity in price behaviors across the country.
Yeah, and specifically want to zero in on California. I mean, it is just eye-popping, $6.38 a gallon, $2.58 more than the national average. Can you give us some of the factors that lead to such a high price at the pump in the Golden State?
We're just talking about an incredible number of refinery disruptions. Keep in mind, it's after the summer driving season. Refineries normally do maintenance this time of year. Typically, that's not a problem. But when you have several refineries, in the instance of California, 3 refineries down unexpectedly, suddenly there's a massive crimp on gasoline supply. And that's what's causing prices in California to go sky high so much that Governor Newsom in California eased California's stringent requirements for gasoline effective immediately.
But the regulations and the taxes that they have out there in California is notable because the rest of the country seems to be following California energy policies. We saw the EV rule 2035. New York has implemented that. Colorado's already talking about it. Does this mean higher gas prices are coming to the rest of the country if we all do follow California energy policy?
Well, I think the problem with California right now is the fragmentation. It's all alone when it comes to having these stringent requirements. And so when things go well, there's not an issue. But when things don't go well, such as the situation now, they are all on their own. Refineries across the country aren't able or unable to ship gasoline to California that meets that standard. That's why it was eased. But there is a cost to the cleanness of gasoline, and the policies that California has in place are really the reason why they're the only ones that are seeing prices so high. Now, keep in mind, we're not even seeing anyone close to California. The statewide average in California now $6.28. The next closest is almost $1 a gallon less. Nevada at $5.28. There is a cost to the policies that California has chosen.
Patrick, let's talk about what's happening on the East Coast, specifically the Southeast. Hurricane Ian obviously wreaking havoc over Florida and a couple of other states as well. But the number of gas stations without fuel in Florida, I know you have been tracking this very closely. Where does this stand? And I guess how long until we see some noticeable improvement?
Well, we are starting to see some improvement. We did peak at about 16.5% of Florida stations without fuel. Those numbers have started to improve. And keep in mind, kind of complicating the situation is the fact that Florida's gas tax holiday just kicked into effect as well. But every area, every major city in Florida is starting to see some improvement. The statewide number, as I mentioned, peaked at 16.5%. Now we're down close to 13%. Tampa Bay, areas of Naples and Fort Myers, all seeing better numbers as supply continues to flow and as power is restored.
Speaking of supply, we've heard and we've discussed a lot about the OPEC Plus potential to cut 1 million barrels a day. We've also got the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. At some point in the next couple of months, the U.S. kicks that. What will be the impact in gas prices into the fall months?
Well, it's certainly not looking terrific, especially if OPEC does pursue a cut at this week's meeting. And that's largely expected now, up to 1 million barrels a day that OPEC could cut production. And on that news, oil prices, a barrel of West Texas Intermediate crude oil, surging nearly $4 a barrel on the prospect that the U.S. is still going to have to fill the SPR. But if OPEC starts chiseling away at oil production, it's going to drive up prices. And that's why you're seeing oil prices respond in kind to the likelihood that OPEC will cut production. The biggest question, though, OPEC making a move it says because of oil prices falling and concerns of an economic slowdown. But will that economic slowdown materialize in numbers in the months ahead?
Patrick, if we don't see that economic slowdown significantly, I guess, materialize, what does that mean then for the price of crude? Right now we're at 83. How high could we potentially go? Above 90, back above 100? What do you think?
Well, it's still within the realm of possibility that we get back to triple digits, especially keep in mind what happens in Europe with natural gas. Crude oil can be used to supplement natural gas if there's any issues. If it's a cold winter, expect oil to jump in and fill the void, not only to produce power, but to produce heat. So there still is the possibility that even if there is an economic slowdown, oil prices could see upward pressure. $90 is possible. Certainly $100 a barrel is possible if we don't see much of an economic slowdown and we see a cold winter in Europe. That's all within the realm of possibility.
All right, Patrick Haan, GasBuddy, always good to have you, sir. Thanks.